Okay. So what we're doing today is solving two-step and multi-step equations. There's actually nothing new here except for we have to follow all our same rules, and we're having to do multiple things to a problem to get to their solutions. So no real new rule except for one, which is we're always dealing with the variable last, and I'll explain that as we go through the steps. So we have examples as far as what you want to be getting done today is you want to get your notes done, you want to get A through E down, you want to get the rules written down. You don't have vocabulary in this section. If you notice, our problems are starting to get bigger. I meant to do this when I gave you guys the notes, but anyhow, let's go through it. First, foremost, I am leaving the stamp on the ledge. If you guys could please get your planners filled out. Make sure that you sign in. Please be good for the sub. I do get a report. The camera will be on or whatnot. I hope you guys get the lecture or whatnot. If you struggle with it, just let me know when I come in the next day. We are practicing this week, today being Tuesday, which is actually my Friday, so I'm still at work on Friday putting this up for you guys. We're going to practice it again on Wednesday, and then we're going to test on Thursday. So as far as what you want to be getting done today, you want to get your notes done, have the rules written down, and then you want to go through and do your do now. I'm not concerned about the worksheet. We will address the worksheet when I get back on Wednesday. First and foremost, you guys know, regardless of my being here, once again, sign in. Make sure that you grab the worksheet in the back. You want to be getting this information down and getting the practice in, getting ready for this test, which is on Thursday. So planners, also when you're done for the day, please make sure that your books go underneath your desk, that you turn in your do now, that your binders go back, and please be respectful of the space, especially for preceding classes. So I really putting a challenge out to all my classes, which at this point I've already done all the lectures. This is the last one. I really want to come back and see that everyone can follow the directives that I give, and showing respect for other classes, respect for yourself, and so on. I don't want to see writing on the desks or anything like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this. So the first thing I want to do is I want to cover the rules. So covering the rules, very, very similar to what we had last week. We're going to work on the variable side first. Okay, so we're looking for the letter side. That's the side we're working on. Regardless of the problem being left or right, we want to work on the side where the variable is. We want to simplify if possible. So now we might have like terms, numbers, variables that we can combine to make the problem easier. Like what happens in example C. We have x's there that we can combine, or numbers that we can combine. Okay, simplify if possible. Next thing, we're doing the inverse operation. That's the opposite. So we're doing whatever the opposite of the operation is from one side to another, keeping the problem balanced, and the other side is the other side of the equal sign. So we're doing the inverse operations on both sides. Now, this is kind of what's new. One, simplifying if possible, and then the last one, work with the variable last. We don't want to be moving variables over to different sides. We don't need to do that yet. We do that when we get to multiple variables, which is going to be very soon. So, looking at this first problem, where 10 equals 6 minus 2x. So we want to solve for x. So we're going to work on the variable side. We have nothing to simplify here. There's nothing we can combine, okay? So we're going to work on this side. We're going to work with the variable last. So we're going to do the opposite of plus 6. which is minus 6. So we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. From here, this is going to cancel out our 6's. 10 minus 6 is 4. Bring down the negative 2x. Then from here, still following the same rules. Now look, this is where the multi-step comes. This was our first step. Now we're down to being able to solve the rest of the problem. Two-step, multi-step. Multiple, multi, or 2. So we had to get numbers to one side first. Numbers to one side, variables to another. So that's what we ended up doing and what caused the multiple step here. So minus 2x, this is multiplication. Inverse operation is division. Now remember, number one mistake that I see all the time. This negative belongs to this 2, so when we do the inverse operation, it's like an identity. The negative belongs to the 2. We have to carry it throughout the problem. So multiply, the opposite is dividing. We're going to draw a line, divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. Our numerator goes in the calculator first. 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2. Positive divided by a negative is a negative. Okay, so there's our first one. Reviewing once again. Work on the variable side. Do the inverse operation. Get numbers to one side, variables to another, and then solve for the variable. Always inverse operations. Positive 6 minus 6. Multiplied by negative 2. Divide by negative 2. Okay, now we have fractions. Okay, we have q over 15 minus 1/5 equals 3/5. We're lucky here. These variables are the same. So we're not having to change to common denominators. So q over 15 minus 1/5 equals 3/5. We're going to add, because the inverse operation of negative 1/2 is positive 1/5. So negative 1/5, positive 1/5, this cancels out. We do it to the other side is the equal side. So we don't do anything with the denominator, we just bring it down. We add the 3 plus the 1, bring down 4. Okay, so there's our first step. Now we have variables to one side, we have numbers to another. We have to deal with this. So this is a fraction, right? Q over 15. It's division, so that means we're going to multiply by 15. That's going to get rid of it. So 15, multiply it in parentheses. That's what it means. What we do to one side, we do to the other, so we put 15. So from here, this gets the q by itself. I bring down the 4/5, I bring down the 15, I drop a 1 underneath it, okay? I can reduce this 5 and 15. 5 goes into 5 once. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. 5 divided by 15 is 3. So I rewrite this. This is 4 times 3. 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 1. 1 times 1 is 1. The answer is 12. Q equals 12. So, once again, multi-step. We had to get the variable by itself, and then we had to solve for the variable. Nothing new as far as the math goes. Okay, next example. 6x plus 3 minus 8x equals 13. First thing we're going to want to do, we're going to work on the variable side. We're on the variable side. We're working on this side, not on the equal side. Never, ever work on the equal side. Next thing we're going to do is simplify. Okay? Simplify means we can combine this 6 and we can combine this negative 8. I owe $8. I pay someone 6. Now I owe them 2. Okay? So all I did is I rewrote the problem down here. I'm going to simplify and add these two together. So 6 minus 8 is negative 2. Bring down 3. Bring down the 13. I need the x by itself. Working on the x, I want to do the inverse operation of plus 3, which is minus 3 from both sides. 13 minus 3 is 10. Bring down the negative 2x. Negative 2x, that is multiplying. So we want to divide it. Remember, this negative belongs to that 2, so we're going to divide by negative 2. We're going to do it by the other side. Divide by negative 2. 10 goes in the calculator. That's our numerator. Divided by negative 2. A positive divided by a negative is a negative. X equals negative 5. Okay, our next example. We kind of haven't done this in a while, but here's how we do it. When we have parentheses, we have what's called distributive property. However, we have to follow order of operations. Okay? So in solving this problem, we want to deal with the parentheses first. However, we can't solve inside the parentheses because we have a variable inside here. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this negative 1 and we're going to multiply, because that is our first, that's our step. First of all, we're working on the variable side. It's on this side. We have parentheses we can't solve within it. We don't have exponents, so we don't need to do that. So now we're multiplying, divide, left to right. So that means our parentheses, we're going to do what's called distributive property. We're going to take this negative 1 and we're going to distribute it across the x plus 2. So from here, we bring down the 9, we bring down the 6, because nothing's going to happen with those, because those are addition and equals. We're not going to do anything with the other side until the multi-step. So we're going to take the negative 1 times x, that's going to become negative x. Okay? The reason why we don't write it negative 1x, because in algebra it's assumed that a variable has at least a value of 1. And so typically we don't write it as negative 1x, we just write it as negative x. Then we're taking negative 2 times 2, which is negative 2. So now we have it out of the parentheses. So once again, we just bring down the 9, we bring down the 6, don't do anything with that. We can't solve inside here, but we can get rid of these parentheses by taking this negative 1 and multiplying by everything that's inside the parentheses. Negative 1 times x, negative 1 times negative 2, negative 2. Now from here, we can simplify. So in this previous example, we had x's that we could combine. Here, we have numbers that we can combine. We can combine this 6 and this negative 2. So 6 subtracted by 2 is 4. We bring down the negative x, or subtract x, equals 9. So once again, we're working on the variable side. Notice the rules don't ever change. This is plus 4. It's assumed this is a plus unless there's a negative in front of there. The negative shows that it's negative. We normally wouldn't have a plus sign in front of there unless the number was after an operation. So we're going to subtract 4 from both sides. 9 subtracted by 4 is 5. Bring down the negative x. Now, this is one of those rules in math. We cannot have a negative variable. It doesn't exist. We have to solve for this. So that same thing I told you up here, how we don't write this as negative 1x, is the same scenario here. We have an imaginary 1 that we don't see in front of here, okay? That we don't show. But this negative x means it's negative 1x. We need to get the x by itself. This is negative 1 times x. We don't know what x is. So, for us to get rid of negative 1 times x, we divide both sides by negative 1. This is a positive 5 divided by negative 1. It turns it to negative 5. That gets the x by itself. Okay? Cannot have a negative variable. Doesn't exist. Okay? You want to solve for that. Okay, very last problem. We don't have any simplifying going on. We have 3a plus 12 equals 30. However, this is saying solve this problem first. Once you solve this problem and you get an answer, find the value of a plus 4. Okay? So this is saying solve for a first. Once you figure out what a is, add 4 to it and tell me the answer. So it's 2 problems in 1. We have to solve this one before we can get over here, but for us to solve the problem properly, we have to solve this one first and then go in and solve this one. You have some that are on your worksheet that are like this. So 3a plus 12 equals 30. We're working on the variable side. We're dealing with the variable last. We're going to do the opposite of plus 12. We're going to subtract it from both sides. Okay? So this is going to cancel out. This is 30 minus 12, which is 18. And then we're bringing down our 3a. This 12 is canceled out now. So this is 3 times a. Inverse operation is divide by 3. We do it by the other side. 18, the numerator, divided by 3 is 6. So we just solve for a. A equals 6. Now we got to move into the next side of the problem. A plus 4. We're going to substitute 6 in for a. 6 plus 4 is 10. So we have 2 answers here. A equals 6. And then when a equals 6, substituting it in, your final result is 10. Okay, I want to review these rules again one more time. It's nothing new. We've been working on this. What your test was last week. Work on the variable side. Never work on the equal side. Simplify if possible. Combine like terms. Do the inverse operation, so do the opposite. If it's division, you're multiplying. If it's multiplying, you're dividing. If it's adding, you're subtracting. If it's subtracting, you're adding, and so on. Do inverse operation to both sides, and then work with the variable last. So once we get to multi-step, we're not moving variables over. We're leaving variables where they're at. We're solving them last. So let's talk about your do now. So what we're trying to get done today, getting all the notes done, getting all the examples written out. You have your examples to help you in regards to the do now. Writing the rules out, having this all written out. You will hang on to this because you'll staple it together with your worksheet. If you get done with the do now, then feel free to go ahead and start to work on the worksheet. Okay, so we're following the same rules. Looking at this first one, we're minus 4 plus 7x equals 3. So we're going to work on the variable side, inverse operation. So we're going to move the 4 to the other side, and then we're going to divide by 7. Remember, in all these problems, you do not want improper fractions. You don't want decimals. You guys know how to convert improper fractions and convert proper fractions back. Okay, so this next one, we're working on the variable side. So we're going to add 5.7 to both sides and then divide by 1.2. This one right here, n over 7 plus 2 equals 2. We're working on the variable side. We're going to subtract 2 from both sides, and then we're going to multiply both sides by 7. That's going to get the n by itself. This side, we're going to work on the variable side. It's a fraction. We have another fraction here. So we're going to add the half to each side. So that's going to be 5.5. And then from here, after we get this half out here, we need to solve for this one. So this is division. We're dealing with the variable last. So we're going to multiply 5 by both sides. Once we get that, we're going to divide by 2, and that's going to give us our x. That one's a pretty good problem. This one's pretty much the same thing here. We're gonna subtract from here. Now, what's going to happen here, we're going to need a common denominator. Actually, let me cover that. I want to see this written in your notes as well. This is going to help. So we have 3/4 x plus 1.5 equals 7/8. So we're going to subtract this 1/2, and we're going to subtract it from this side. But we have to get a common denominator when it comes to adding and subtracting fractions. This is the way that I teach it. We're 7 over 8, okay? We're going to be subtracting 1/2, okay? So I have to convert this fraction. So the easiest way to do this, and if you just follow these steps, you will never have trouble with fractions. 8 and 2 are divisible by each other, okay? So that means I'm going to make this my denominator 8, okay? This one is not going to change. This is going to just be 7 over 8. We don't need to make any change to that, but we need to convert this one so they're like each other, okay? So I asked myself, what is 8 divided by 2? Well, 4 times 2 is 8. So what I do to this one, I'm going to do to this one. So 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 4 times 1 is 4. So this is 4. So 4/8 reduced to 1/2? Yeah, because 4 goes into 4 once, and 4 goes into 8 twice. So these numbers are the same thing, but we need them like each other. We need the denominators to be the same, be able to subtract these, okay? So now we have our minus here. So we took care of this, we converted this fraction, so we're focusing on this part right here now. We don't do anything with the denominator, so we're just going to write it, and now we're going to do our math. So what happens is, this is 7 minus 4, which is 3. Is it positive or negative? Let's talk about that. Larger one retains a symbol. So this is almost 1. This was 8 over 8. It'd be 1. And this is half. Okay? So this one is larger than this one. So it's going to eat up that negative, and the answer is going to be 3/8 in dealing with these fractions. Okay? So moving this over, this is going to be 3/8. And then from here, we're going to have a fraction next to a variable. So we're going to do the reciprocal. We're going to flip over this fraction, and we're going to multiply the other side. We're going to multiply this side by the same thing, 4 over 3, and then we can reduce those. So cross cancel them, and then solve them. Multiply the top by the top, and the bottom by the bottom. So I want to definitely see this in your notes to make sure that you're engaged, and I know that you're getting this part done. These 5 questions in notes done, steps written out. The stamp is on the ledge. You guys want to get your planners filled out, get the planners stamped with the information that's up through here. If you get done with the do now in time, then go ahead and start your worksheet. Once again, I'm asking every class as a favor to the next class that you guys pick up after yourself, that you sign in, that you do all the things that are expectations that I have for you, that your binders go in the right spots as far as your periods go, and so on. If we need to go through this or you struggle in an area, just make a note and we will cover it tomorrow when I am back. But really nothing new except for simplifying and work with a variable last when it comes to multi-step problems. All the rules are the same. We're using inverse operations to solve for them. Okay? So I'm hoping this sub gives me a glowing report that you guys were amazing. That's what I'm hoping for, that I've seen that you guys are able to come in and be successful students. So once again, do now, super important. You want to get this done, turned into the tray. So muy bien trabajo. That's it. I will see you tomorrow.